This is Mac OS Ken.
Rod Hall just keeps being Rod Hall. A few stories of Apple Watch and Apple privacy and pot shots. It's Thursday, the 10th of December, 2020. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Simply Safe. Get a free home security camera when you purchase a Simply Safe system at simplysafe.com/macOSCan. This show is also sponsored by Squarespace, your place online. How big do you want your place to be? Squarespace can go as big or small as you like. From a splash page, to a blog, to a gallery to show your art, to a bigger page to promote your business or nonprofit, to an even bigger page for selling physical or digital goods, with tons of support like shipping help and search engine optimization tools to help people find your stuff. And there are analytics to see what's working and what needs to be tweaked. So much support. Now, my needs are simple, and Squarespace has been great for them. But I am only using the tiniest portion of what Squarespace can do. As small as my site or as big as your biggest idea, almost anything you want to do online, you can do with Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com/macOSCan for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code MacOSCan to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Start your free trial today. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code MacOSCan to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain at squarespace.com/macOSCan. And a big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring today's show. Goldman Sachs analyst Rod Hall is no June Zhang, but that's only because, unlike Zhang, Rod Hall still has a job. Apple Insider says Hall issued a note on Apple on Wednesday, sticking with his sell rating and his price target of $75. While he acknowledges long lead times for the iPhone 12 Pro and iPhone 12 Pro Max, he's not sure those are indicative of strong demand. It's possible that Apple misread what demand would be and simply made too few. Also, lead times are shortening according to the analyst, so even if the lead times were due to stellar demand, that may be coming to an end. Hall is also said to be concerned that iPhone 11 appears to be doing much better in Europe in the wake of the iPhone 12 launch. That could drive down iPhone's average selling price in his estimation. Finally, while Apple's sales this holiday season seem to be better than 2019, he and his think it's possible that shopping started earlier this year. That could mean shopping ending earlier this year rather than a buying frenzy through the 24th. Caution is one thing, but sell and a $75 target? For what it's worth, Apple ended trading Wednesday at $121.78. I am not saying that Hall is wrong. Apple Insider, however, says he's been underwater on his estimates versus Apple's share price for over 2 years. While Mr. Hall wonders over ways things could go wrong, CounterPoint Research counts the ways things seem to be going well for Apple Watch. Mac Daily News has that firm saying that sales of Apple's chronometer were up 6% last quarter versus the same quarter a year ago. That was good enough to increase its global market share by 2 percentage points in the third quarter of 2020 versus the third quarter of 2019. Part of that share increase was thanks to Apple Watch SE. While the lower cost device may have hurt Apple Watch's ASP, it added to Apple's coffers. A senior analyst with CounterPoint was quoted in the piece as saying, in terms of sales, Apple's position is even stronger. In the third quarter, it achieved $2.3 billion, nearly half of global smartwatch shipments, and an 18% increase over the same period last year. As for the top market for Apple Watch last quarter, that was China. According to the firm, the North American market, which showed a significant growth with the release of the Apple Watch Series 4, had continued to dominate since the fourth quarter of 2018, but China managed to edge ahead in the third quarter of 2020. From the health of Apple Watch to the watch's health contributions, iDownload blog says Apple has updated the Apple Watch ECG algorithm in iOS 14.3 and watchOS 7.2. We don't know for certain what's new about that, just that it is new. That said, iDownload blog has Mac rumors speculating, quoting that speculation, based on beta code uncovered by Mac rumors, it's likely that the new algorithm will allow the ECG app to check for AFib at higher heart rates during exercise, for example. Perhaps we'll know more by next Monday. iOS 14.3 and watchOS 7.2 are due out no later than the start of next week. That is when Fitness Plus is set to launch. To operate to its fullest, Fitness Plus requires both of the updated operating systems. Apple's getting ready to flip the ECG switch for another region. Apple Insider says the functionality will go live for Apple Watch users in Taiwan next Tuesday, the 15th of December. And with that, the feature's slow roll continues. ECG launched in Korea last month, according to the report, and is expected to surface in Japan sometime soon. One more bit of growth for the Apple wearable. Mac Rumors says the cellular version of Apple Watch is now available in Portugal. The units actually went on sale this past Tuesday, the 8th of December. Cellular models are available in aluminum, stainless steel, and titanium variants, according to the piece, but Watch Edition and Hermes LTE versions are currently unavailable. One carrier for the country so far. Right now, if you want your watch to be a Dick Tracy wrist phone, you'll be dealing with the Portuguese provider, NOS. More news in a moment, but first a word from SimpliSafe, the right way to protect your home. Whether it's from a break-in, a fire, flooding, or a medical emergency, SimpliSafe Home Security delivers award-winning 24/7 protection. With SimpliSafe, you don't just get a bunch of cameras and sensors, you get the best professional monitors in the business. They've got your back day and night, ready to send police, fire, or EMTs when you need them most, straight to your door. Now, yeah, it's secure, but the Simply part is pretty cool too. Took me about half an hour to get my sensors and keypad in place. You do that yourself, and it is simple. If you've been considering it, now is an excellent time to try, because right now, my listeners get a free home security camera when you purchase a SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/macOSken. You also get a 60-day risk-free trial, so there is nothing to lose. Visit simplisafe.com/macOSken for your free security camera today. That's simplisafe.com/macOSken. And a big thanks to SimpliSafe for sponsoring today's show. Tensions between Apple and Facebook around advertising technology and user privacy continue. TechCrunch ran a piece earlier this week that had Apple's Senior VP of Software Engineering, Craig Federighi, taking aim at ad tech hysteria over iOS app tracking changes. Anyway, that's what their headline said. The piece puts Apple's upcoming app tracking transparency at the center of the issue. Well, that and the online ad sector's reaction to it. Facebook, you may remember, treated the announcement as the end of days for advertisers on its platform. Outlandish and false are two words Federighi is said to have used to describe those reactions. In a speech to the European Data Protection and Privacy Conference, Federighi said Apple's forthcoming App Tracking Transparency, or ATT feature, represents the front line of user privacy as far as Apple is concerned. He also said Apple would like to see an omnibus privacy law in the US, similar to the European Union's GDPR, a law that empowers consumers to minimize collection of their data, to know when and why it's being collected, to access, correct, or delete that data, and to know that it is truly secure. Rather than fighting the other companies, Federighi said Apple would like to see other tech players come along, even beat Apple at the user privacy game. Quoting his remarks, "We don't define success as standing alone. When it comes to privacy protections, we're very happy to see our competitors copy our work or develop innovative privacy features on their own that we can learn from. At Apple," he continued, "we are passionate advocates for privacy protections for all users. We love to see people buy our products, but we would also love to see robust competition among companies for the best, the strongest, and the most empowering privacy features." As Apple addresses an old Facebook complaint, Facebook subsidiary WhatsApp hits with a new one. Engadget says the messaging platform is complaining of a double standard when it comes to Apple's soon-to-be mandatory privacy nutrition labels and Apple's built-in apps. A WhatsApp spokesperson is said to have told Axios that the labels are anti-competitive since iMessage, which is built into iOS, won't have such labels. Quoting the report, the messaging giant argued that labels ought to be consistent for both first and third-party apps, and that it was important to have comparison opportunities. Apple's response: "Every app will have a privacy nutrition label, including Apple's." A piece from Mac Rumors had the Cupertino company saying that any app made by Apple that's available in the App Store will have the nutrition labels, same as all the others. As for apps that come pre-installed, like Messages, the piece says Apple says that it will make the same privacy information available to users on its website. Apple says this information will be presented in the same way as it appears on the App Store. For his part, Apple CEO Tim Cook took shots at Facebook on Wednesday. Actually, that's not fair. First of all, he didn't mention Facebook by name, and second, it didn't happen on Wednesday. It happened on a podcast that was released on Wednesday. Mac Daily News had the CEO guesting on the Outside podcast from PRX. While I've yet to hear the show myself, he's said to have addressed several topics in the hour-plus episode, including Apple Watch, fitness, Fitness Plus, parks, and bad actors in Silicon Valley. CNBC ran some quotes from the episode. Quoting a couple of those, Cook said some people see Silicon Valley as monolithic, and so in particular, the larger companies, they sort of put in one bucket, if you will. Some of the big issues that are surrounding tech today are the lack of responsibility taken on a platform about what happens. We clearly take responsibility. We make tough decisions. You can be a great amplifier of misinformation, Cook continued, of violence, of a lot of different things out there. We don't want to be a part of any of this. We don't want to be a part of the hate at all. And I feel, by and large, that we've avoided that. CNBC went on to say Cook also differentiated Apple from other big tech companies on privacy, which he said could be the most important topic of the 21st century, aside from climate change. You know, honestly, he could have been talking about a number of companies. Apple TV Plus could be in for some trouble in Europe. Mac Rumors says Irish lawmakers implementing European Union directives are proposing laws that would require foreign streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, and Apple TV Plus to host at least 30% European content or face being shut down across the EU. If ratified, the piece says the law will require all streaming services to feature at least 30% content that may be classified as European work. A new Irish Media Commission would oversee the administration of the law for the entire EU and determine if streamers are meeting their obligations. Right now, only one of Apple's shows, the British comedy Trying, would qualify. The EU says works from the UK would count as European work. Kind of funny, since officially the UK wants no part of the EU. As for what will happen if the law goes into effect, MacRumors figures Apple would have two choices: either heavily invest in European content for Apple TV Plus, or pull the service out of the EU entirely. They could stay in the UK though, so that's a thing. And finally today, great stories can change the world, and maybe scary, depressing ones can too. Variety says Apple has given a series order to Extrapolations, written, directed, and executive produced by An Inconvenient Truth's Scott Z. Burns. The piece says Extrapolations is said to tell intimate, unanticipated stories of how the upcoming changes to our planet will affect love, faith, work, and family on a personal and human scale. Told over a season of 10 interconnected episodes, each story in the scripted series will track the worldwide battle for our mutual survival, spanning the 21st century. According to Burns, most of the storytelling around climate change is focused on the science and getting people to accept it. Our aim in Extrapolations is to move beyond science and use drama, comedy, mystery, and every other genre to allow us to consider how every aspect of our world is going to be changing in the years ahead. We know the climate is going to change, Burns says. Extrapolations asks, can we change too? No word in the piece on when the show will show up. Coming up in a few minutes, Mac Voices host Chuck Joyner and I kick around the hardware as a service idea. Chuck's a fan. I have trepidation. Hear us hash it out in a few minutes. Available wherever you get podcasts or on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Ken Ray. Yesterday on macOS Ken Live, I got a tiny bit ranty on the whole privacy thing from earlier in this show. You can catch a replay or subscribe to the audio podcast wherever you subscribe to podcasts. Also, I'm going live again this afternoon, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. Catch macOS Ken live at youtube.com/Ken Ray. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Squarespace. Get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain with offer code macOSKen at squarespace.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by SimpliSafe. Get a free home security camera when you purchase a SimpliSafe system at simplysafe.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.